very warm welcome to the Grownlearn Podcast. This is Zarina. Today, I'm welcoming Fred Cary, a renowned expert in entrepreneurship, the CEO and operational executive of IdeaPros. He's overseeing at the moment more than 250 startups. He has 3 decades of history in developing startups, leading them to IPOs. He's all about success mindset, business tips, turning things around for people, growing companies, aligning them to their purpose. We're going to be speaking about all of these things today, so stay tuned. Hi, Frederick. Welcome.
Well, hello, welcome. It's good to see you from sunny California to, I'm sure, beautiful Austria.
Is it still sunny? Austria is already very cold.
Oh, no. It's always about 25 degrees Celsius here, summer and winter.
Very nice. Fred, you've had a very long career and you're still very active. What drives you to keep on helping companies?
Yeah, I could never see myself retiring. In fact, I have a few friends that have done that, and I wouldn't want to have that kind of life. I think that we're meant to create and do so as long as we breathe. And so for me, the ability to help others and help myself in the process is something that I drink like water, and it's something that's never going to stop with me.
Do you ever get tired of working with entrepreneurs and developing their business ideas? I mean, your company's IdeaPros, so it's all about developing the ideas, I suppose. But don't you get tired?
Yes, I get tired. I get frustrated, and often, any of your listeners or watchers who are entrepreneurs know how difficult it is to have one company. We're up to 400 now. We were 250 not very long ago. We're up to 400 companies that we own 30% of, that we've grown from a raw idea into nationwide launches or international launches of organizations. And with every fire that one company has, multiply that times 400, and there's a lot of frustrating, anxious moments almost every day.
What is the biggest challenge that you see entrepreneurs have when they come to you first? What is the most common challenge?
Yeah, when I decided to start IdeaPros, it was really looking at the data to decide what it is that I wanted to do next. I didn't know that IdeaPros was going to be the thing. I wanted to find an area that was large, growing, and was not being serviced well. And nowadays, when you look at entrepreneurship, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. It makes social media makes it look really easy, and there's some 20-year-old guy sitting in front of a Lamborghini wanting to take $500 from you to make you a millionaire. And the reality is, it's really, really tough. And the majority, 95% or more of entrepreneurs are what we call outsiders. They don't know what they should be doing. And so the biggest problem I see when people come to me they are those outsiders. They don't know what to build. They don't know how to build it. They don't have the connections to strategic alliances or financial connections to be able to get the money that they need to really do well for themselves. So the biggest thing I see is also the biggest failure point for new companies, which is founders created something that there's no demand for. And that just shows the level of naivety we have when we go into the entrepreneurial world. It's very formulaic, and people approach it in a very happenstance way. So that's the big problem.
So is the company functioning as an accelerator, or what is it similar in function as a startup accelerator?
No, and we get compared to accelerators, incubators, venture capital, private equity. We get compared to those things all the time. But the reality is that those are kind of pinpoint solutions. Come in, spend 3 months with us. We'll show you how to go out and kick butt and go out on your own. We're more of a professional co-founder or a fractional co-founder. So when you come and work with us, we're acting like we're you. We're part of you, and we're going to be with you through the entire process, from your idea stage all the way through your launch, and as you need help afterwards, because we have an equity piece in your company. We want to make sure that you succeed, or can't make sure, but give you the best odds of succeeding. So we're with you for the long term.
Mm-hmm. And what is the typical entrepreneurial profile that you accept in your portfolio?
It's not what you think it would be. It's 30 to 55 years old, mostly career people. We do get people who are stay-at-home folks, but for the most part, the sweet spot is 30 to 55, career-oriented, working for a corporation, either nationwide or multinational organization. They're going up the food chain. They're upper management, typically, and they hate their lives. And they have all this structure around them. They have great retirement plan. They have good health insurance. They're guaranteed promotions now and then. But it's a very structured environment where they're not feeding their passion. And those are the types of people that are coming from a very structured world into the craziness of entrepreneurship, and they're hardly prepared for it. They know they need to do it, but they don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. So with the business help that you're providing, and the funding and the co-managing of their companies, you mentioned also that your specialty is aligning their purpose to the business the company is doing. How do you do that?
It's not an easy process. But the reality is that if you look at even really large corporations that are purpose-driven, they get better products, they have better profits, they have a more loyal customer base. Even big organizations that have a piece of their organization that is kind of purpose-driven, that one piece of the organization outperforms the rest of it all the time. Like Unilever, for example, has 3 or 4 products that are very kind of authentic, purpose-driven mindset, different management team running them, and it accounts for some big percentage of their profits. So I like to really explore, like, what makes you tick? What is going to make you, when you wake up in the morning, smile as you're getting out of bed, that you're getting to face another day, instead of like, oh my God, I don't want to go to work. When we work together to find what that is, and then find a way to monetize that so that your life and your work can really, really balance, and you don't have to worry about how many hours you spend doing this, how many hours you spend doing that, because it's all part of a comprehensive life experience that is going to make you feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the sifting process through which the companies go through is like with a very wide sift. So there's not a lot of requirement, and you also help them with the purpose, and you help them align with their mindset. Am I coming close to what you're doing?
Absolutely. My argument here is that we need to make better people, and the foundation of creating better companies means starting with the individual. And we want to make sure that the people that work with us understand that with the right to create comes a duty to do good, to do well for your customers, for your shareholders, for your suppliers, your employees. That duty to do good things is what gives you the right to become a great company. So you can't be a great company without a great leader, and you can't be a great leader unless you're a really good person at home. You can't be kicking the dog and yelling at the husband or wife, and not spending time with your kids, and be a great leader. It's all encompassing, and so we try to make better people. It's really what we do.
Uh-huh. All right. So is there any sort of a selection? How do you define the ideal candidate for to be your client and partner as a company?
And I really screwed up in the beginning with that, because we looked at two major things. Number one, was it a really good idea? And number two, did that co-founder have enough capital to contribute to the cause so that we can build this together? We didn't look so much at the underlying traits of the individual. And that is actually the most important thing of all. I mean, because you can see a lot of folks that are billionaires now that have done many, many different things, not just one thing. And it's the character of the human being that carries him or her throughout that whole process, to have the resilience and dedication and diligence and perseverance to continue down that road, even when they're facing fire from abroad and having to pivot and facing failure. So it's a very unique individual that can really embrace failure as a learning moment and take that to create something different, better, and then make a sharp right turn when you thought you were going to be going straight ahead. So we really analyze the person as well. Does this person have the characteristics necessary to face fire and succeed?
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Okay, so can you share with us some tips on growing businesses? I know that you have a track record of growing businesses within a year to 20 million and then to 700 million. I read something like that in your career. So you're really all about making it happen, growing fast, turning things around. Yeah.
So let me put it this way. If I told anybody in your audience that I wanted them to manage a sports team for me, but I didn't know what type of sport we were playing, I didn't know what the size of the field was, what the objective of the game was, who the opponents were, what were their strong points, and what are their weaknesses that you could exploit, who's in that audience, how big are they, how do you get them to root for your team instead of the other, and I had none of those answers, you would think I was idiotic. But that's how we approach business. We go in, we think we have a good idea, we talk to our mom, she thinks it's great, and so we put up a sign and we go into business. And we don't know anything about the size of the market opportunities, the strengths and weaknesses of our competitors, what our potential customers really need, and how we're going to be able to get it to them so that they can become our loyal, passionate fans instead of just our customers. We don't do the heavy lifting and the hard work necessary to maximize our opportunity for success. So the thing that I would say to anyone in the audience, when you're doing that, arm yourself with knowledge. Think of yourself as a sports team. Figure out what game you're playing and what you need to do to win against the enemies, your opponents, your competitors, and win the people in the audience.
Mm-hmm. So have you managed to improve the percentage of startups that are succeeding above the 3%?
Yeah.
In your own portfolio?
Yeah. So if you look at venture capital, for example, the best venture capital firms in the world probably have about 85 to 90% failure rate. And there they are pouring millions and millions of dollars into people that they think are the brightest in the world. And still they have this enormous failure rate. They make up for it because of the ones that make it will give them a 20x, 40x, even 100x return on their entire portfolio, although 9 out of 10 times they're picking losers. The thing that we do that's different is that we structure the build. When somebody comes to us, we're working with them, we're using my experience, our company's experience in making sure we're building the right thing in the right way, positioning ourselves properly. So our success rate is more in the 25% range instead of the 3%.
Okay, that's awesome. Over how many years do you measure this?
15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some other tips you can share with us for growth, for success? What else is important apart from preparation?
Yeah, the two biggest failure points for entrepreneurs is, number one, you created something there's no demand for. The number two thing is that the demand is greater than you anticipated. That becomes a second failure point, because all of a sudden you have all these orders in, you have all these shipments, your manufacturer is not big enough, you have problems with your inventory management. And so I think some of the biggest things that an entrepreneur needs to think about, and I'm going to throw one other thing at the end of this one, but the two biggest things is, how do I manage when things go slower than I think they're going to go, and the growth doesn't happen like I'm going to like I believe it's going to happen? How do I have enough cash in reserve? What's my plan B for that occurrence? And then the second thing is, on the positive side of it, how do I make sure that if there is this surge in demand, that I can anticipate it? Do I have a backup manufacturer? Can I talk to my manufacturer about what their capabilities are? How do I handle drop shipping or import export, things of that nature? Think about that big growth component as well. And then the other thing I was going to throw in there is, entrepreneurs are the worst leaders. And they're the worst leaders because when you start out, you're doing everything on your own. You're the marketing team, you're the sales organization, you're handling HR for the two people that work with you, you're going out and being the CFO, raising money or trying to, and the shift from that mindset to one of leadership, where you pick very high quality people around you and step back and let them do their job, that's a really, really hard shift for an entrepreneur to let go of those reins. So those are things. Watch the money and watch the management. Those are the biggest things that can get you in a whole lot of trouble really, really fast.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's talk about money then, since this is one of the biggest impediments.
Yeah.
You mentioned that one of your first requirements were at the beginning was that the co-founders had enough capital. Now you changed your perspective. Where do they find the funding if they don't have the required capital, or do they still need to have your required minimum capital?
Yeah, and when I say required capital, it's enough to invest alongside with us in the build, right? But you're going to need additional capital when you launch. Fortunately for us now, I've partnered up with a finance company that will help people with the initial capital that they need. But after that, right now in today's world, wherever you are in the world, you have to think of yourself as a financial CEO. If you're running a company, you're either closing a funding round, you're in between rounds, figuring out how you're spending your money and what you need next, or you're getting ready to start the next round. That's the way it is, because you can't grow fast enough just based on your cash flow alone, right? Because if you're let's suppose you're doubling every single month, it's a great place to be in. But if you're relying on your cash flow, you're using last month's cash flow to manage a doubling in this month, and it doesn't work. You don't have enough cash. Like, I'm doing great on paper, but I'm sucking air and near collapse because I don't have enough money in the bank to handle this growth. So if you want to be a successful organization that's going to be growing quickly, you got to have outside capital. So the biggest mistake that we make as founders, as entrepreneurs, when we're going out and raising capital, is we want to talk about how different we are, how we are going to change the world, how our solution is second to none, how we have no competitors at all. And those are scary words for an investor. An investor doesn't want to hear that. When you're out raising capital, an investor is not buying your dream. An investor is buying your stock certificate. They're buying a financial instrument. They're investing money to make more money on the money they're giving you. So they want to know, why am I paying this for this instrument? Why is it worth this? When am I going to be able to sell it? How much am I going to be able to sell it for? And why are you people the ones that are going to be able to pull that off? And we don't think about that as entrepreneurs. When we go out and do our pitch decks, we think about, I have this golden widget. Nobody else has a golden widget. We're going to rule the world with this golden widget. And an investor is thinking, Well, how many times have you ruled the world before? How have you managed a disruptive technology that's going to completely change everything in the entire world? You don't want to talk that way. That's not how you talk to investors. How you talk to an investor is, look, we're not the smartest people in the world. We found this great marketplace that's growing rapidly. There's 3 competitors in there that have turned into billion-dollar companies in 3 or 4 years because the demand is so great. However, all 3 of those companies don't provide this one thing that this massive audience wants to have. And we're not smarter than them, but we created that one thing that they want that nobody else is providing. The market's there, competition's robust, growth is fast, and there's a huge pent-up demand for the one thing that we have that nobody else is delivering. That, for an investor, is like, all right, the market's proved out, the competition's proved out, the growth of those companies, I can see where my stock certificate is going to be worth more money, and they found something that there's this enormous appetite already built into it. I can invest in that. So you should, in your pitch deck, every single slide should have a number. The market is growing by 27% a year. This company is going to go to 100 million revenue in 4 years, and these are the underlying facts of how we're going to get there. The dissatisfaction rate in these customers because they don't get this one thing that we have is 48%. Like, every slide should have a number, because that's how you talk to investors. And if you can do that, you're going to raise capital no matter if the market is bearish or bullish, because the money's there. And when you're facing a stingy market, that's what you're facing. It's not that there's no capital, there's an excess of capital. When you have a bad market, like even now, the turbulent marketplace, there is more capital to be put out on the market than there's a demand for. But it's stingy money. And you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to position your organization really well to get that stingy money, but you can get it if you do it the right way.
That's great advice. So the funding company that you're working with, are you seeing an significant increase in interest rates, or is this equity company that you're working with for funding? How does it?
I work with a couple. I work with some pre-seed venture capital firms that are equity based. I also work with debt-based companies, and the interest rates are actually starting to go down. And I think over the next several months they go down even more. So, but the reality is, if you're looking at the value of money, you have to compare it to the value of you having that money and what you can do with it, right? So if somebody's charging you 10% interest, but you're starting a company that you know it's going to grow from a $5 million company to a $100 million company, you should pay that all day long, because it gives you the fuel that you need to grow. And that's one area that people worry excessively about. The other one is like, well, I don't want to give up equity in my company. Well, why not? Why don't you want to give up equity? Because when you give up equity, what you're doing is you're buying the fuel that you need to take your rocket and launch it. You can't launch without it. So, yeah.
Fantastic advice. I love it so far. So you have a lot of free tips and information on your website. What is the website?
Yeah, if you go to IdeaPros.com, you'll see the very first thing you'll see is free membership. If you sign up for free membership, the first thing you get is 7 days worth of emails with a different tip every single day, and the fundamentals of really being able to grow your business. And each one of them has a video from me as well. I think it's very valuable information. And then after that, every single week, we'll have a newsletter that gives you different tips and tactics and tricks that you should deploy in any type of business. We also have, every month or two, we also have webinars that are also free that go in depth on a different subject. We just had one on pitch decks, 2-hour free webinar on that subject. And we cover literally everything that you're going to need to know as an entrepreneur. So IdeaPros.com, you can get that free. You can also go on my Instagram at official Fred Cary, Cary, and I put in one post a day on entrepreneurship, on personal development, on doing the right thing and perseverance, things of that nature. I think 1 minute a day with me for free will give you a lot of good advice and get your mindset working right.
Mhm. Wonderful. Any closing words, Fred, that I have missed asking you?
Um,
Mhm.
I just think that people really focus on what it means to be successful and what do I need to achieve success. And I would say that if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to go out on your own, that there's no finish line. It's never ending, and so you need to be prepared. That's why it's really great to align your passion and purpose with what you're doing, because you can handle as much pressure as anybody can deliver to you, because you're doing what you are meant to be doing in life. So if you get into entrepreneurship, just realize it's this never-ending cycle of successes and failures, and your successes will outweigh your failures if you have perseverance. Just embrace the suck, as they say, and know that that's part of the process to becoming better and better and better.
What is your future goal? Where are you heading?
Well, my goal is kind of lofty. What I want to do is I'm trying to impact the lives of 10,000 people, enough so that they make some meaningful shift in their lives, and hopeful that it's meaningful enough that they will impact 1,000, and then those 1,000 will impact 100. And if I can pull that off, that's 1 billion people. If you do the math, and if I'm 90% off, it's still 100 million people that I'm helping change their lives. So that's really what the balance of my life is all about, is trying to help others with theirs.
Well, I commend you on your ambition and on the motivation that you have to do that.
I
Good luck.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for this talk. Once again, the website is IdeaPros.com. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at grownlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.